Koheloyim, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushua Bahashem, Kakodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well over the flock of Israel. Shalom and salutations to you brothers out here pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom to the Akim and the Akwaf listening. All right, these are the words that are passed down from the Heavenly Father to his people in the last days concerning his people and concerning the times to come. The brother Amo Alaba sent this to the chat. I thought it was a pretty interesting video. I'm going to play it now.
Okay, recently some well-meaning people posted a emergency video on New York in case they were hit with an EMP. Now, in the scenario they ran, New York City itself was not hit with a nuclear bomb, but there was a nuclear bomb nearby that contaminated the city and caused an EMP. I'm telling you, pretty much everything in that video was wrong. They were telling you there, you need to take your clothes, wash your clothes, get rid of your clothes, and hunker down in place. I'm telling you just the opposite. I'm telling you, if you're in Manhattan, you need to get out of Manhattan. Time is not your friend. Speed is your friend. Speed, speed, speed. So, in the event of an EMP, 95 to 98% of all electrical appliances will not work. How would you know the difference between EMP and a regular power outage? An EMP, your car won't start, there will be no electricity in your house, and all your handheld smartphones, if everybody's phone is out and there's no power, no signal, but no power, you know it's an EMP. And at that point, you must get off of Manhattan Island. So, Manhattan Island will turn into a death trap. There's a very interesting series that happened. It was called Life After People, and they talk about it's a mind exercise about what would happen to places if people just disappeared. Now, in this series, they don't explain people just disappear all at once, but they do one about New York City. So, without electricity, all the subways were going to slowly fill up with water, and all the rats will come out. But long before that, there's going to be raping, pillaging, fires everywhere. Because remember, your Bic lighter is mechanical. Ne'er-do-well starting fire.
So I wanted to stop it right there. The rest of the videos, he's just telling you how to survive that. But I wanted to mention now he's talking about there will be raping, pillaging, and fires going on. There will be flooding going on. You won't even know if it's an EMP. Your lights will just go out. You might think it's a regular power outage. You're just sitting around the house thinking that things is going to be better. But he did say the R word, that grape, you know. It's going to be very serious, even more serious for women. The reason I did this video is because there's a power outage where I'm at right now. There was a big storm that came through, and it caused the lights to go out. Now, we can bet that, more than likely, as time goes on, somebody's going to get out there. They're going to send a few men out there, and the men is going to pull the plug or connect some things, or, and then the power is going to come back on. Simple as can be. But it was pretty serious storm, and all of a sudden the power went out. Well, that's all it's going to take in that day. One day it's going to go out, and it's not going to come back on. Right? Jeremiah 30:7 says, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. He shall be saved out of it." So there's going to be a great salvation, similar to the time in Egypt during the Exodus, when the Lord split the Red Sea and did many different plagues in order to cause Pharaoh to let his people go, right? Israelites famously walking through a portion of the Red Sea, and Pharaoh's troops were closing in behind the Israelites. The waters on the walls that were parting the sea fell in and caved in, allowing the sea to just close in. These are great miracles done in the form of deliverance, and the Lord's going to bring back similar miracles, and even miracles that are going to outdo the miracles done during the time of Egypt that we're waiting upon, but not until a great day like none other day, where there is a time of Jacob's trouble. Jacob are the 12 tribes of Israel. So we're speaking to our people here. Now you go through the scriptures and you find out that when things happen, right? When all hell breaks loose and STHFT things hit the fan, and like similar to a power outage. So a power outage right now means two things. That means you're not going to be able to cook. If you got that electric heater, you're not going to be able to cook. Um, you're not going to be able to surf your web. If your phone, for instance, I got a half a battery. Once my phone die out, there it is. No more phone. No more calling people. All right. So if you don't have a full battery, you're stuck there. What else? Lights goes on. It's hard to see. If it's nighttime, you're not gonna be able to see. More than likely, all of these lights is gonna be out. In the street lights is gonna be out. That's gonna bring out some of these fools out here, or some of these people that's been eyeing you. And you know who's in a lot of these homes, and a lot of these apartments? It's these single, employed career women. You got your dog. You got your little snorkadoodle. He ain't gonna deliver you. He's not gonna be able to protect you. All right, against that 350-pound man that see you every day, go inside your house alone, right? That 911 call ain't gonna be made, all right? Or he just might test his luck. The man in the video goes on to talk about carrying weapons and how to escape the island. He's talking about how there's gonna be cars set on fire. You're not gonna be able to travel easily. But just remember, there's a day in which you're gonna have to fend for yourself to an extent. If the Lord ain't protecting you, you're going to have to fend for yourself 24/7. And it's not going to end pretty for women. Wisdom of Solomon 17:12. For fear is nothing else but the betraying of the succors which reason offereth. But let's get that in a different version. This is called the GNT. It says, fear is nothing but the failure to use the help that reason gives. See, reasoning is what a lot of men is known to have, right? Not the men that's raised by their mothers, but the ones that's raised by men or by their fathers or came into this fold. The longer you in this fold, the more you know how to reason with yourself, right? Fear is nothing but the failure to use the help that reason gives. So once your reason goes away, you now have no more help to deal with that fear. Now everything becomes scary. It says when you lack the confidence to rely on reason, you give into the fears caused by. So not only are you going to have to deal with the elements when things like EMP attacks happen, but you're also going to have to deal with your own mind, which is going to be tripping out. You're not going to have no light to see, all right? You're not going to have no people to call, no phone to call nobody on. And you're going to hear a big boom, right? You're going to hear a bang. You're going to hear a little scratch on the window, and you're going to panic. You're going to lose it. Now, this is a story which it's in the King James here, but I actually want to just read it in the NLT. And this is from Judges 19. And I'm just going to read all the way down. This is a story of how this kind of proves, right, that just because a man is considered an Israelite and considers himself an Israelite in this day and age, do that mean you could trust him? For instance, does the fact that I know I'm an Israelite cloak me from being completely malice and hardened and evil if I want to be? Because I know that I'm an Israelite. Think of Joy Morgan, for instance. Let's read Judges 19:1. The Levite and his concubine. It says, now in those days Israel had no king. There was a man from the tribe of Levi living in a remote area of the hill country of Ephraim. One day he brought home a woman from Bethlehem and hid in Judah to be his concubine. All right, so he had an Israelite concubine. It says, but she became angry with him and returned to his father's home. Now, it doesn't necessarily say she was an Israelite concubine, so I'll take that back. She was a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah, which is a possibility she was an Israelite. It says, but she became angry with him and returned to her father's home in Bethlehem after about 4 months. So she left and went back home. Her husband set out to Bethlehem to speak personally to her and to persuade her to come back. He took with him a servant and a pair of donkeys. When he arrived at her father's house, he saw him and welcomed. Her father saw him and welcomed him. As you can see, the father knew exactly who he was and welcomed the son-in-law. Her father urged him to stay a while, so he stayed 3 days, eating, drinking, and sleeping there. On the 4th day, the man was up early, ready to leave, but the woman's father said to his son-in-law, have something to eat before you go. So the two men sat down together and had something to eat and drink, and the woman's father said, "Please stay another night and enjoy yourself." The man got up to leave, but his father-in-law kept urging him to stay, so finally he gave in and stayed the night. On the morning of the fifth day, he was up early again, ready to leave, and again the woman's father said, "Have something to eat, then you can leave later this afternoon." So they had another day of feasting. Later, as the man and his concubine and his servant were preparing to leave, his father-in-law said, "Look, it's almost evening. Stay the night and enjoy yourself. Tomorrow you can get up early and be on your way." But this time the man was determined to leave. So he took his two saddled donkeys and his concubine and headed in the direction of Jebus, that is Jerusalem. So here he is now, took his concubine with him and his two donkeys, and he's heading back to that journey to go back to Jerusalem, take his concubine with him. It was late in the day when they neared Jebus, which is Jerusalem, and the man's servant said to him, he had a servant with him, "Let's stop at this Jebusite town and spend the night there." So he had a servant, he was probably rich, right? He says, "No," his master said, "we cannot stay in this foreign town where there are no Israelites." Now, interesting to say, the Israelites has always been a people who has stuck to themselves. Today, the Israelites are so confused, they think they have to stick to the other nations. That's one of the main problems and the major problems of our people running to the other nations, not knowing who they are. It says, instead, we will go to Gibeah. It says, "Come on, let's try to get as far as Gibeah or Ramah, and we'll spend the night in one of those towns." So he's looking for Israelites. Well, he's going to learn a valuable lesson about his own people and how they can get down at times. So they went on. The sun was setting as they came to Gibeah, a town in the land of Benjamin. And he's not wrong for wanting to stay amongst his own people. It's just that just because you're an Israelite doesn't mean you got an upright heart. Just because you're an Israelite doesn't mean you're part of the elect. Just because you're an Israelite doesn't mean that you're not fighting against the flesh. It says, so they stopped there to spend the night. They rested in the town square, but no one took them in for a night. So that's sign number one. They're in the area, we're in the town in the land of Benjamin called Gibeah, and they stopped to spend the night there, resting in the town square, which is the center of the town, and nobody's taking them in to spend the night. See, it's traditional. It's tradition as an Israelite to take care of your brother, be your brother's keeper. It's tradition as an Israelite to be hospitable. Okay? That evening, an old man came from his work in the fields. He was from the hill country of Ephraim. So he's probably an Ephraimite dwelling amongst Benjamin. It says, but he was living in Gibeah, where the people were from the tribe of Benjamin. We saw the travelers sitting in the town square. He asked them where they were from and where they were going. I said when he saw, it says when he saw the travelers, he asked them where they were from and where they were going. "We have been in Bethlehem in Judah," the man replied. "We are on our way to a remote area in the hill of country of Ephraim, which is my home." So they're probably both Ephraimites. "I traveled to Bethlehem. Now I'm returning home, but no one has taken us in for the night. Even though we have everything we need, we have straw and feed for our donkeys and plenty of bread and wine for ourselves." So it shows you the delinquency of the Benjamites in that town at Gibeah at that time, because even Israelites from other hillside countries of Ephraim, from northern, different tribes, knew the custom. A hospitable thing to do for Israel was to take care of each other and bring each other in. If you saw an Israelite on the ground, outside, who looked like he was traveling and he had nowhere to go, you're supposed to take him in. And that's why this man was so confused, standing out there in the middle of the night. That's why the old man came up to him. "You are welcome to stay with me," the old man said. "I will give you anything you might need, but whatever you do, don't spend the night in the square." I wonder why he said that. It says, so he took them home with him and fed the donkeys. After they washed their feet, and they ate and drank together. Verse 22, and the point is coming up, while this all links together. While they were enjoying themselves, a crowd of troublemakers from the town surrounded the house. They began beating at the door and shouting to the old man, "Bring out the man who is staying with you so we can have sex with him." I'm going to get the KJV to make sure, right? Verse 22. That this is not just some random thing that was thrown in there from the NLT. "Now as they were making their hearts merry, Behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man that came into the house, that we may know him. So these were Sodomites, Benjamite Sodomites, sons of Belial. Okay? They was devils, man. They were behaving as devils. When you go to Belial, you're going to see this has to do with Baal. Wicked, worthlessness, sons of worthless, sons of the wicked. You see, unprofitable, base fellows, good for nothing, Belial, evil, all right, worthlessness, wicked men, ungodly men. So they were wicked as all hell. That's what you called wicked men back then, sons of Belial. That doesn't mean that they come from that seed line. It just means that they wicked. There's no seed line of Belial, you know. All right, so it says, beset the house round about. It says, saying, bring forth the man that came into the house that we may know him. So they definitely trying to have sex with this man, this Levite man. Verse 23, the old man stepped outside to talk to them. And by the way, you know, this is the type of nature in which some of our people are, you know, have embedded in them. And the time in which they're going to show it might be a time like an EMP, might be a time when, you know, you're by yourself, or you think you have peace and safety. The scripture says, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction come. Let's continue. The old man stepped outside to talk with them. No, my brothers, don't do such an evil thing. For this man is a guest in my house, and such a thing would be shameful. He got to school them why not to drag his guest out to have sex with this man and sodomize his guest, who's an Israelite from a Levite from the place of Ephraim, the land of Ephraim. I know I said earlier he was a Ephraimite, but he was a Levite. It says here, take my daughter, my virgin daughter, and this man's concubine. So here they are, at the very least, trying to give their daughters up. So it shows you another thing, the possession in which a man or a father has over his daughter, and the possession in which a man has over his concubines. Always showing you that a woman was and always will be, according to the Bible, a possession of the man. He that getteth a wife getteth to him a possession. And the husband, in order to have a wife, the law tells you if he takes a wife, right, if he grapes a wife to himself, he has to pay a dowry to the father, not the mama, not the city, not the wife, but to the father. All right, so it says, but don't do such a shameful thing to this man. I will bring them out to you, and you can abuse them and do whatever you like, because those is his property. Now, mind you, this is not something that the man probably wanted to do either. But the shameful thing would have been utterly shameful, and it still was shameful what happened to her. But it would have been utterly shameful how they did this to the man. That was, you know, commit sodomy. One thing is committing grape, excuse me. The other one is committing sodomy. All right, grape isn't punishable by death unless she's already betrothed. So that concubine, for the, you know, if he took the man's concubine, they definitely would have been slaughtered for that, but not necessarily the virgin daughter, if you understand the law of grape. It says, but they wouldn't listen to him. So the Levite took hold of his concubine and pushed her out the door. Now he just gave her, because this is that same sons of Belial, that same wicked, ungodly men, worthless, ungodly men, you know, and the same spirit that they had during the time of Lot, when the angels was in Lot's house, trying to sodomize the angels, man. Some of our people just gone. Now, those were sodomites. Those are a different nation. But some of our people are just gone, as you can see here in this town of Gibeah, amongst Benjamin. It says, but they wouldn't listen to him, so the Levite took hold of his concubine and pushed her out the door. The men of the town abused her all night, taking turns, raping her until morning. Finally, at the dawn, they let her go. All right, so they took turns on, they basically gangbanged all night, right? These is Israelites, by the way. These is Israelites. And guess who is the number one people? Because obviously they got some, they was basically bisexual, right? These are basically what you call today in modern terms bisexual. They'll deal with men or women. Okay? And who's the main advocate for that? Is it the Israelite man or is it the Israelite woman? I'll let you guess that. But as you can see here, they took this concubine and pushed her, or he pushed her at the door. The men of the town abused her all night, taking turns raping her until morning. Finally, at dawn, they let her go. At daybreak, the woman returned to the house where her husband was staying. So now you can see it was her husband, even though a concubine is like a lower form of it's not necessarily a wife. All right. Concubinage is an interpersonal or sexual relationship between a man and a woman in which the couple does not want or cannot enter into a full marriage. Concubine and marriage are often regarded as similar but mutually exclusive. So he's still technically her husband. It says at daybreak, the woman returned to the house where her husband was staying. She collapsed at the door of the house and lay there until it was light. When her husband opened the door to leave, there lay his concubine with her hands on the threshold. So that tell you about nighttime. That tell you about when the lights go out. Now the beginning of the video is all about the EMP. When the lights go out, it's a whole another ball game. That's why you go inside before the lights go out and you lock your doors. That's why most jobs, nighttime jobs, night shift jobs are men. Okay? You gotta understand when the lights go out, that's when the morals of the people tend to go out. That's when the freaks come out. All right. So in this case of an EMP attack, you can expect the nighttime to be the craziest time. All day is going to be crazy, but nighttime, forget it. It says, he said, get up, let's go. But there was no answer. So he put her body on his donkey and took her home. When he got home, he took a knife and cut his concubine's body into 12 pieces. Then he sent one piece to each tribe throughout all the territory of Israel. Everyone who saw it, uh, said, such a horrible crime has not been committed in all the time since Israel left Egypt. Think about it. What are we going to do? Who's going to speak up? So this event obviously led to like a civil war, all right, between all the rest of the tribes in Benjamin, in which Benjamin was they had so many demons on them at that time that they were serving the rest of the brothers until the rest of the tribes got the best of Benjamin and took them down to around 500. Okay, so Lord willing, this video was edifying. It was about the point that to drive home is that it's going to be a time, man, and all hell is going to break loose, and a lot of you women out here is going to be stuck. Y'all going to have nobody to protect you. This is another, let me get this real quick. Some of you women might be thinking like this sister here, Adalaya. Yeah, she says, this is Adalaya. All right, right? Little PYT sis, right? She says, y'all know y'all don't need a man to have a relationship with Yahweh, right? I don't believe that. And it's interesting to see so many females dependent on their man or a man to build a relationship with the Most High. You'd be surprised how much you can learn on your own and how much of a stronger connection you feel when you study it on your own. Don't wait on nobody to build with the Most High. Take control, because nobody going to fight harder for you, for your salvation, than you. When you come with this spirit, there's going to be two things that's going to happen to you. First, you can't go to the Most High without Yahweh Shah. The water for the brother's comment. You ain't going to get to the Most High without Yahweh Shah. And by the way, Adalaya, there's an order to this thing. You're not going to receive no type of salvation without, the Lord said the order is the father, and then the Yahweh Shah, then the man, then the woman. I mean, you can go ahead and start preaching otherwise, but you're just going to get a lot of women served. Whoever women out there This is called a silly uh, doctrine, right? The scriptures say captives, they have laid captives silly women. All right, this is foolishness, man. Laid hold of, silly women, led captive silly women. She's a silly woman. She think in the time of concentration camps and EMP attacks and Jacob's trouble that she gonna be able to, with her connection, skip over to Yahweh Shai and have this relationship with the Father that's going to just sustain her. She's gonna be made a example of, unless she repent and then get a man. If I was, I don't recommend any of these women out here following this silliness and this foolishness here. All right. Lord, when this video is edifying. Until next time. Shalom.